My dear fellow listeners and viewers, good evening once again, and welcome to another edition of Let's Chit Chat with Narine. Let's Chit Chat with Narine is a Canadian initiative with a unique impact. There are a few different ways to listen to us. You can listen to us on the regular dial, that's the radio, 102.7 CKMS FM. You can listen to us on Rogers digital cable for those of you who have the Rogers digital box. And of course, we're also live stream our chit chat here. So do take the opportunity to share a page. We ask you to stay with us if you like to learn a thing or two. However, if you're looking for an opportunity to vent out negativity, this is not for you. Tonight, we have a very special guest. I know it's a little bit different than what we're accustomed to because usually we do a lot of entertainment piece and all of that, politician we've had and so on. But tonight, we're going to take every opportunity to understand a little bit more when it comes to healthy eating. And when we think of that, we couldn't think of any other person than um, our guest here tonight. So I know you're using a different, you're probably using I'm not sure what you're using there, but I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name properly, by the way. So Faiqua, joining us tonight is Faiqua. There you go. I get it right the first time. That's a good start. So thank you so much for joining us and welcome to our show. So how are you doing tonight?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I'm doing good as well. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a couple minutes or so, where you can introduce yourself to us, let us know a little bit about you. Then we're gonna get right into it. We want to understand, why you get into the profession you're doing. And by the end of it all, we're hoping that we can walk away, and become more knowledgeable people when it comes to healthy eating, healthy choices and all of that. So take it away, introduce yourself to us.
Okay, absolutely. So again, thank you so much for having me. As you said, my name is Faiqua Khahid. I'm a registered dietitian. And so just a little bit of background. For my schooling, I went to University of Toronto and University of Western Ontario. So I did a bachelor's degree as well as a master's degree in food and nutrition. And that's how I became a dietitian. And I've been practicing for about 6 years now. And I've had a few different roles. So, for example, one of the first dietitian roles I had was working with Loblaws as as an in-store dietitian. So basically helping customers build healthy baskets when they were shopping. So a lot of nutrition label reading and trying to decide what products are healthier. And since that role, I've more shifted towards chronic care. And chronic care is basically what that entails is giving medical care to patients with chronic conditions. And chronic conditions are conditions that affect a person or an individual for a long period of time. So think of things like diabetes or heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. So a condition that's going to affect a person for pretty much their entire life. So that's what I've more focused now to. I also do run a private practice. It's called Bite Right Nutrition. And I think you provided a link for that. So thanks. So that's what I've been up to.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. And for those of you who have just joined us, do remember that there are a few different ways to listen to us. You can listen to us on the regular dial. That's the radio, 102.7 CKMS FM. You can listen to us on Rogers digital cable. And of course, we're also live streamers chit chat here. And we are happy that you are all joining us here. So let's get right into it. And you talk about your business there in a sense. I think that's your business name. So what is it that, in terms of service, like what is it that you provide to the people?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a private practice dietitian, I do get to see a lot of different clients. So, clients with a lot of different nutrition related conditions. So I see people with diabetes, also pre-diabetes. That's a big group that I know can really help by seeing a dietitian, because if that's a condition that if it's left untreated, it can turn into diabetes. So I also see people with high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and a lot of people just trying to eat better. No one really eats perfect, and that's fine. I think we can all always use a little help. So a lot of people just trying to improve their diet, improve their eating patterns, eating trying to eat a more balanced diet. And of course, there's weight management is a big part of it as well. I do so one-on-one counseling, and of course, because of COVID, it's all virtually done, which is good and bad. I mean, it's keeping us all safe, but at the same time, I do miss the old way of seeing patients. But let's see how that goes, right? So I do one-on-one sessions. I also have like different packages available, and that's all written out on my website if anyone is interested. I do offer 15-minute free consultations, and these are a great way to kind of get to know me and for me to get to know you and see if we're a good fit. And if we are, then we go ahead and book a proper appointment, and then there's follow-ups and things like that.
All right.
Yeah, and also like I do really enjoy writing. So recently I've started a blog and just trying to give out a lot of free advice to people on how to eat healthy, different choices, also a lot of different healthy recipes that are all on my website as well. So for example, today I just posted a blog about healthy snacking. So that's just giving ideas what a healthy snack looks like, what kind of things should go in there, and just some different ideas to try out.
All right. Thank you so much. So I mean, there are lots of different field out there. Why is it that you have chosen to get into this particular field?
Uh, that's a good question. So, and there's actually a bit of a story behind that. So I, didn't really start off into this career. When I went to school or university, I was in a very different program. I was in cell and molecular biology, and I thought I wanted to do research. So that's where I was headed. I actually finished the program. I started working, and that's when I realized that it wasn't really for me. So I, you know, kind of started doing some research and looking for things that I would like to do. And I'd always loved food and how it affected our bodies. So I always had interest in nutrition science. And this program really caught my eye. This was at Western. And I applied and got in. And it was funny because it was so last minute. I literally had 2 days to decide that if I was going to go move to a
Wow.
different city I'd never been to. I, had no place to live. I actually didn't even know anyone in that city. So it was a very difficult difficult decision to make. But I did, and I'm glad I did because it turned out really well. When you make a decision, things just start working out for you, right? Like everything just kind of falls into place. So that's kind of how I ended up in this field.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that with us. It looks like you followed your heart, which is not a bad thing, right? So it
Yeah,
works out well for you, by the way. So, I mean,
exactly.
you are a dietitian.
Yes.
And so, is there a difference between dietitian and a nutritionist, or is it the same thing?
That's actually a really great question, and a source of confusion for a lot of people. So I'm glad you asked. So dietitian and nutrition are actually different terms. So a dietitian is somebody who has gone through extensive nutrition training. So they have to do a bachelor's degree and then sometimes even a master's degree. And after that, they have to have practical training, which is pretty extensive as well. Then they write and pass an exam, and that's how they get their license. They are also regulated by a body. So in Canada, it's by province.
Hmm.
So for example, for me in Ontario, I'm regulated by College of Dietitians of Ontario. So it's kind of like any other health professional, like a doctor or a nurse or a pharmacist. You are a regulated health profession. So you know that anybody who's called a dietitian has gone through that training. Nutritionist, on the other hand, is a bit is different because there's no like regulation for that term, at least not in Ontario. So you don't really know what that person's qualifications are, right? So they might be really qualified, they maybe have a PhD in nutrition, or maybe they just did an online course and got a certification. So it's really, if you are interested in seeing a nutritionist, great idea to first ask what their qualifications are, what their background is.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. Maybe eventually they are going to have certification for all of that, because these days they tend to have certification and
Everything,
registration
right?
for everything. That's for sure.
Exactly.
They do, as you probably know, they do have registration and certification for social worker and whatnot. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
They do, they're regulated as well.
yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Yeah. All right. And so you are also a diabetes educator. And I mean, I've heard the term before. I've known one or two people who, have had conversation with me and say, well, no, I cannot eat this, I cannot eat that because I'm diabetic and so on. Can you maybe shed some light for us on that? Because you are an educator, in that field. So whatever you share here will be very beneficial to us.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've always been interested in that area. So I did become a diabetes educator a few maybe 3 years ago now. And a certified diabetes educator is somebody who works a lot with patients and their families in teaching them how to self-manage their condition, right? So I can definitely share some advice, just kind of backing up about diabetes. So it is unfortunately a very prevalent condition that affects millions and millions of people. So not just in Canada, but worldwide. In Canada specifically, there are 11 million people living with pre-diabetes or diabetes. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't even know that they have it. So it's something that we all should be aware of. And there are certain risk factors that make a person more prone to developing diabetes. So, leading certain lifestyle, for example, being overweight or obese, smoking, belonging to certain ethnic backgrounds, can't really change that, having a family history, and just kind of going back to the ethnicity. So it's Mother Nature hasn't been so generous with some of us. So for example, people who have a South Asian background, for example, are more than 3 times likely to develop diabetes compared to Caucasians, for example. People belonging to the Caribbean or Africa, they have about 2 or 2.5 times more risk of developing diabetes. So, these are some risk factors that we cannot change, but there's definitely things that we can do that can lower our risk of developing diabetes, or even if we do have diabetes, how we can sort of manage that condition. So, for example, just to keep in mind, any nutrition advice is going to be individualized, right? So whatever we're talking about here is very general. If you have any specific questions about your specific nutrition need, do ask your doctor or any health care professional for that. So for diabetes, we do, and this is not just true for diabetes, it really goes for healthy eating, or especially if somebody's trying to manage their weight, for example. So it kind of goes together. There's no foods that you can never eat, right? Like there's always room for everything. It's all about eating in moderation and trying to eat healthy most of the time, right? So we go by this plate. You can see it.
Yeah, I can see it nice and clear.
Perfect. So this is called the plate method, and basically it's a way to build your meal. Okay, so it kind of simplifies it for you a little bit. So as you can see, we have vegetables as half of your plate. Okay, so this is super important.
That's gonna be me, by the way. I just get that out of the way, just so you know.
Do you like vegetables?
Oh yeah.
Perfect. So this is unfortunately something a lot of people struggle with, but they're so good for you, right? So lots of fiber, lots of nutrients, lots of antioxidants, which are great for your immune system, for example. And they're very, very low in calories. They also are usually very low in carbohydrates, so they wouldn't affect your sugars as much. Okay, and they're a great way to fill you up. Next up, we have a quarter of your plate as a starch or a grain. So this is, about the size of your fist, like that. By starches and grains, I mean things like rice, breads, pasta or noodles. It could also be starchy vegetables. So potatoes or sweet potatoes would actually go in here, not count as a vegetable. Here, what you want to make sure is that you're eating whole grains. Okay, so things that are made of whole grain flour and provide more nutrients and more fiber. The other part of the plate, which is another quarter of your plate, should be a protein. So protein is also very important to have. It helps balances the meal. It helps keep you full for a longer time, so you're not hungry right after eating a meal. And sources of proteins could be lean cut meats, it could be beans, lentils, or legumes, it could be tofu or soy products, it could also be nuts and seeds. Okay, so this is just very general and just kind of a guideline on how to build your plate. Any questions?
I have a question actually. So I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat and things of that kind. So when it comes to the protein portion of that plate, I will be following that guideline, by the way. Just so you know. So anytime I eat now, I'm gonna remember you of making sure that I'm consistently getting my half portion of my vegetables and so on. So what will be some of the best replacement, so to speak, um, in terms of getting the right amount of protein and so on for non-meat eaters, for example, like myself?
Yeah, great question. So, with vegetarians, you just have to be a little bit more mindful of and making sure that you are getting enough protein. So things like beans and lentils are a really great way of adding protein.
I'm it again. So I'm just making sure, putting all the check marks here. Thank you so much, by the way. Go ahead.
Of course, like if you eat, and if you eat
Mhm,
cheese,
mhm,
low fat cheese is also a great thing to add if you're looking to bump up the protein. Eggs, I don't know if you eat eggs, but they're also a good source of protein, not vegetarian though.
mhm.
Also tofu or other soy products are very easy way to add protein.
Fantastic, good stuff. So I'm doing good so far, by the way, in terms of what you're sharing here. You mentioned earlier about the immune system and so on. So I'm assuming that eating healthy as you suggested, all of that can help in terms of visiting the doctor less. I'm assuming, like things like having now I guess getting I guess not getting cold as often or not being sick as often and so on. I'm assuming because your immune system is somewhat stronger. Like, does that make any sense at all?
Absolutely. So, like when we talk about having a strong or a healthy immune system, a lot of factors go into it, right? It's not just like one nutrient that's gonna give you that strong immune
Mm,
system. It's really getting all your nutrients, getting a
mm,
good balance, right? Eating a healthy, balanced diet that will help you with making that strong immune system. And we can go over some of the things that can help. So there are certain nutrients that research suggests are more important in a way in building or maintaining a healthy immune system. So I'm sure you've heard of vitamin C.
mm,
With the pandemic, a lot of people just kind of going crazy with
mhm.
vitamin C. So vitamin C is a very powerful antioxidant, and it does help build a healthy immune system. So vitamin C is actually very easy to get into your diet. So a lot of vegetables and fruits are a great source of vitamin C. A lot of people think, orange juice, that's vitamin C. Yes, that has vitamin C, but really there are a lot of other sources. So even things like broccoli is a great source of vitamin C. Peppers are very high. So bell peppers, red, green. Chilies are a great source as well. Also berries, especially strawberries, are a very good source of vitamin C. So that's one of them. There's also vitamin E, selenium, vitamin like the B complex. Those are also very important. Another thing that people don't think of is protein. Kind of going back to your question, so making sure you're eating enough protein, because protein is involved in building up your immune system. So again, you want to make sure that you're having protein at each meal, right? Most meals you want to make sure of that. So that absolutely helps as well. There's also zinc. That's another common one. So zinc is found in, again, in a lot of foods like your whole grains, lean cut meats, poultry, seafood, nuts and seeds. These are all great sources of zinc as well. So, again, just kind of going back to eating a well-balanced diet is so important, right? Also, on top of that, I do want to mention that people don't think of physical activity when it comes to building your immune system, and that is really key as well. So you want to make sure you're getting enough exercise. That really helps as well. Also, stress management, getting enough sleep, hydration, these are also things that are very important.
All the things that we should be doing. Eh?
Yeah,
That's for
we all know what we
sure.
should.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned about the exercise piece. So is it the normal recommendation of like half hour per day kind of thing, somewhat?
Yeah, kind of, exactly. So the recommendations for physical activity are about 150 minutes accumulated throughout the week.
Mhm.
And if we break that down, that's about half hour or 30 minutes 5 times a week. Okay, and when you break it down, it's really not as
Mhm.
much as people think it might be. And this is referring to moderate to vigorous exercise. So it could be like any aerobic exercise. So it could be, swimming, dancing, cycling. It could even be a walk, but it has to be a brisk walk. So anything that's getting your heart pumped, getting you a little bit out of breath, break a little bit of a sweat will count. So that's for the aerobic part of the exercise. We also do recommend doing resistance exercises. So these are exercises that target your muscle groups. As we age, we know that we actually lose muscle mass, right? That's just a natural process of aging. And the only way to keep that muscle mass is from doing resistance exercises. So we could be lifting weights or using those stretch bands
Mhm.
or bands to do those exercises. We could also even use your own body weight, like for example,
Mhm.
push-ups and things like that. Those are all weight-bearing types of exercises. So that's also recommended, and the recommendations are to do that at least twice a week. On top of that, 150 minutes of aerobic exercise.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you so much for that. Lots of information here to digest, but I'm glad that we brought you on here because it's nice to have the reminder, I mean, we all know that, we should be eating healthy and all of that, like, but the reminder and all of that, especially during this time as well, because sometimes when we have so much going on, we tend to forget all the important pieces. One thing I would like to share openly here, though, is that I have not been sick for the past 17 years, close to 18 years. And when I talk about sick, I'm talking about like cold and cough and so on. I have no idea so what it feels like to have a cold. Absolutely yes. I have. The last time I had the flu was 18 years ago, and since then I never had it back. I remember somebody suggested to me, and they said, Narine, it's probably not a bad idea to take vitamins and so on. You mentioned about vitamins. I went to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy, he was questioning me. So he asked me, what is it that you normally eat? So I gave him a list as to what I eat. And he said to me, based on what you said to me, you do not need any vitamins. So this is good stuff. And I think you coming on here is a motivator, not only for me, but for people who are watching and listening, because you're like people who understand more in specific areas, we benefit from them. So of course we appreciate you here. So what are some of the common questions people ask you when they're reaching out to you? Because I mean, there's not, I would assume, and I know that for a fact, that there's no overnight success when it comes to anything, right? it has to do with our eating habits and so on. So what are some of the common questions you are hearing from people when they reach out to you?
Absolutely. So, um, a variety of things really, but
Mhm.
a big one that I kind of struggle with, and I know people struggle with, is trying to find quick fixes. So like you said, there's nothing that we can just kind of do overnight and magically fix our problems. So a lot of people do struggle with that, like, oh, I need to lose 20 pounds and I need it done next week, right? Like that kind of mentality.
Pretty
I'm exaggerating, but
I know, I get it, I get it. Yeah.
and it's not even their fault, because a lot of people in social media, all these like health influencers, are kind of showing that picture, like, oh, I did this and look at me now, or I did that cleanse, or I did this diet, and I lost like 50 pounds and you can do it too, kind of thing. So a lot of people fall for that, and unfortunately, but sometimes it's just, these are marketing gimmicks, and sadly, they take advantage of people who really want to change, or want to achieve certain goals. So that's always a challenge, trying to um, you know get people to have better, or more realistic sort of expectations. Yes, there are diets out there that can make you lose tons of weight very quickly, but they're not good for you, right? And research has shown us time and time again that those diets just don't work in the long run. So most of these people are gonna end up gaining all that weight back and some. So what we teach is using more, using your hunger cues, right? Using more of your intuition to eat healthy and making small changes. That's how it's going to be realistic. So making small goals, and changing kind of like one or two things only at a time. That's what works, right? Kind of making healthy eating a part of your routine. So that's one thing.
Mhm. Fantastic. This is really good information. So how about this old saying, since when I was a small kid, I always hear this saying of one apple a day keeps the doctor away. So what's behind that? Oh, here you go.
Have an apple just hanging around. So apples are, a great fruit, great snack to have. Absolutely. Um, I'm not sure where
Mhm.
that reference comes from, but fruit is a great way to energize. It is a carbohydrate, and so a lot of people think they shouldn't be eating too much fruit.
Mhm.
A lot of people with diabetes believe they can't eat fruit, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh my
Mhm.
god, like I can't eat a banana, I have diabetes. So there's a lot of misunderstanding or confusion as well. What we recommend is you can have up to 3 servings of fruit a day. So a serving could look like a small apple like this,
Mhm.
or anything that's about that size is considered 1 serving, and we can have up to 3 servings a day. This is again very general. It's this
Mhm.
recommendation,
For
it can
sure.
always change depending on who we're talking to. Bananas, if you're going out buying bananas, we can look for smaller ones, so it's more closer to 1 serving rather than two if it's a larger banana. But yeah, fruits are a great way to energize. They're a great snack to have on hand if you're, out and about, for example.
All right. Excellent information. So how about is there any difference um, eating a banana? Let's say it's kind of not fully ripe or kind of just ripe, ready to eat, so to speak, or when it's like really, really yellow and kind of almost, banana starting to have like spots on it. Like, is
Yeah.
there a difference in terms of nutritions if you eat them differently, if you know what I mean, like at different times? Like,
Yes.
oh, like overripe and kind of ripe.
Yeah, so as the fruit, or like in
Mhm.
this case the banana ripens, it does produce more sugars, right? You can taste it, it gets
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
sweeter.
Mhm.
So there is a difference. but nutritionally speaking, there's not like a huge difference, right? So it's not like I would recommend eating like more raw bananas, unless that's your preference. Some people do prefer that, I guess. But there's not really a huge difference. Yes, there are more sugars in it, but still we do treat it both of them as a carbohydrate. So if again, like on average, people don't need to worry so much about that. But if somebody is, let's say, really watching their sugars, and maybe they're testing their sugars at home, they might see a difference in their blood sugars after eating the two different types.
All right. And how about eating the skin of an apple, for example? So some people they cannot eat the apple with the skin and things of that kind. Are they losing anything? If so, what are they losing there?
So yeah, I mean, the advantage of eating the skin of the fruit, including an apple, would be getting more fiber. So a lot of the fiber is on the outside. So if you're peeling it off, you're losing that. There's fiber inside the fruit as well, but most of it is on the outside. So we're losing that. So I do recommend eating it with the skin on.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. How about nighttime snacking? Like we talk about snacking, but I'm not sure if I heard clearly what you said. So I mean, usually they when I said they, professionals are recommending that people should not eat and go to bed and things of that kind. They're recommending that you should have, I don't know, maybe about 3 hours. You would know. So what recommendation do you have when it comes to that? Should we have an empty stomach 3 minutes prior to go to bed? I don't know. I'm just asking.
It's a good idea to have like a more of a consistent eating pattern. What we recommend is having 3 meals a day, and
Mhm,
you want to space them out so between 4 and 6 hours. Okay, so it really, it depends on when you're waking up, when your
mhm,
day gets started. So like I wouldn't say, okay, don't eat
mhm,
after
mhm.
7 o'clock. That's different for everybody. Maybe
Absolutely.
somebody's day starts late, so 7.
Absolutely. True.
It really is individualized.
Mhm,
um, but you want to make sure you're eating those 3 meals that are spaced well between 4 and 6 hours. If you do feel hungry, it is okay to snack, right? You don't have to snack, right? But if you are hungry, truly hungry, can absolutely snack. When it comes to snacking, we do kind of like that plate method. There is a
mhm,
little formula you can use.
mhm,
So for a snack, you want to make sure your snack has protein, and it also has a bit of a carbohydrate, preferably something that's higher in fiber. So, for example, it could be that apple, and you can pair it with some almonds. Okay, so the fruit is going to give you that fiber. It's also giving you that energy, and the almonds, on the other hand, are going to give you that protein. Okay, and the reason we say is to have that combination is because that way your snack is going to sustain you for a longer time. Okay, so it's going to fill you, and then you're kind of satisfied for a longer period of time. So both fiber and protein are slower to digest in your system. So if we have that in your system, you're going to feel fuller for a longer time. So I don't know if you've experienced that. If you have an apple, you might get hungry, maybe shortly after, and again, you're looking for a snack, right? That happens to me. So but if I eat that apple with maybe some peanut butter or almonds, or maybe a little bit of piece of cheese,
mhm.
that's gonna keep me full for a longer time, maybe help me get to my next meal without looking for a second snack. Does that
Wow.
make sense?
Well, it makes a lot of sense to me because I get hungry all the time.
See?
Like I'm a snacker. I snack continuously. I snack, but healthy snacking I'm talking about. But I do snack, and sometimes my wife say to me, like, like you never start eating. But it's who I am, kind of thing. I have to kind of, I have to snack like usually in fruits and things of that kind. But
Yeah,
so is it
absolutely.
okay to have like two banana per day? Because there are times I will have two bananas per day. The reason for that though is that if nobody else is eating it, I'm the one eating it. So there you go, my sorry, I didn't hear you.
You don't want them going bad, right?
Oh yes, I'm thinking like yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking, what do I do now? Do I put it in the compost or I put it in here? So I don't know. So sometimes I do that. I have two bananas because banana is the most common fruits, as you know, right? So right,
Yeah, and it's so easy to carry it around. You don't have to wash it and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So it's a very easy and
yeah.
for a lot of people, it's very easy to digest as well, easy to
Mm,
chew. So it's actually a really great snack. And yeah, I mean that's fine. But again, like if somebody had maybe higher blood
yeah.
sugars, I might not recommend that. It really would be individualized.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I have none of that or anything of that kind, but I just thought I kind of asked there for
Yeah,
sure. Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So for those of you, let me give you a minute to kind of draw your breath there. You've kind of really give us lots of important information. So this is really, really good stuff. But for those of you who have just tuned in, let me remind you that you're listening and watching. Let's chit chat when around that. There are a few different ways, of course, to listen to us. You can listen to us on a regular dial. That's the radio, 102.7 CKMS FM. You can listen to us on Rogers digital cable for those of you who have the Rogers digital box. And of course, we'll also live stream our chit chat here. We're joined by Faiqa, a nutritionist, um, and she is a dietitian, right?
Yes.
Not a nutritionist. There you go. You see, I'm correcting my
That
own self here, which is a good thing. Sorry?
that was your test.
There you go. Yes, yes. There you go. I'm listening. That's awesome. Let me take an opportunity to say hello to a few people, and then we're gonna continue back here with one or two things more. Let me say hello to Gayatri. Thank you so much for taking a sneak peek. Very much appreciated. Um, Pandit Sharma from Toronto. Thank you so much. I hope that you're picking up some pieces here. Pretty much sure you are. Um, Vanessa, Rex Mohan, who we've had on the show here. Dirty, all of you guys, a long list here, but do not, we appreciate all of you, of course. Um, this show is a very unique one because usually, we have a variety of different guests, of course. Usually we'll have politicians, we'll talk about politics, we'll do our musical piece and all of that. But I think this one is so important, so unique because the information we're getting, it's more, I find like this one is more of a self-care because all the information you're providing here, I can, try to see if I'm on the right track, I can end up calling you too and and making sure that I'm on the right track. So speaking of that, how can people? What's the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to work with you one on one, book you an appointment? What's the best way?
So all the information is on my website.
Mhm, mhm,
So if you go under services, you can see the different options that you have. And I would encourage people to get that free 15-minute consult, and we can have a little chat and see for a good fit, right? And I know kind of what they're looking for. Once we do decide to go ahead, they can
mhm,
book the appointment online. It's pretty easy to do, and they'll get a Zoom link, kind of like how we're talking today,
mhm,
and that's how it's
mhm,
done. I do like an initial appointment. I do follow ups as well, of course, and then I also have packages. So I have like a weight loss package, a pre-diabetes package, diabetes package, a heart healthy
mhm.
package. So that's usually like it's not just one appointment, right? Because these are things that we kind of build on as we go, make little changes. So it's a good idea to kind of invest in your time a little bit longer.
Absolutely. And I think it's important. Sometimes all of us, we have busy lives and we are doing, things all over the place and we are constantly on the go. And sometimes we tend to forget to take care of ourselves. And I find that something like this, it's really a good self-care piece where we are taking care of ourselves because I always believe that we cannot feed off an empty bucket, so we must take care of ourselves. One of the things I would like to mention here too, a lot of people might not know of this because the people don't pay attention, to details. Many of you probably will be qualified through your workplace to see a dietitian. And so just like how you have dental coverage and social worker coverage and massage coverage and all of that. So you want to look at your I guess the information that they give you when it comes to your benefit. A lot of people don't read it, but you want to read it. You don't want you want to understand what is it that you have in that package, because your employers, they will not share those information with you. By the way, they just kind of do their thing and give it a thing, and you sign off and they're done with you. But you want to make sure you're utilizing all of that. So in most of the cases, you might end up doing yourself a favor where you're getting professional advice, you're getting you know um, good information, you're putting yourself back on track in terms of your own personal health, and it probably wouldn't cost you a penny because it's all already covered. So something to think about. I lay that out there because I know sometimes people are not aware and they find out after the fact. So it's nice to give them the information as it pops up here, kind of thing. So how about this pandemic? I mean, obviously it is a challenging time for everybody. What you may have shared some already though, but what tips, so what you can share with us here for the people who are watching, listening, in terms of what we can do really in terms of whether that be healthy snacking or choices in terms of staying healthy and so on um, during this pandemic time.
Mhm. Yeah, so in terms of, just trying to stay healthy, I think a big piece is for a lot of people is mental health, right? So a lot of people are struggling with that. It could be due to that feeling of isolation, not being able to see your friends, your family for such a long period of time. And it's been long, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's been
Oh yes.
almost a year, feels even
Yes.
longer than that.
Yeah, yeah.
So really, take care of yourself. Even like your mental health is so important. That really affects your whole body, right? So stress or anxiety are things that definitely affect how you eat, how you even metabolize your food. So that's something you want to talk to somebody who can help you if you are struggling with that. Do use technology as much as you can to your advantage to speak to family, friends, so you don't feel as isolated. I know it's not the same thing, of course, but we do what we can. In terms of healthy eating, again, no single nutrient is magically gonna boost your immunity, but eating that well balanced diet is really key, and being consistent, right? So and that's really important. A lot of people, they'll make a change and then they'll be so drastic that they're not able to maintain that change for a very long time, right? It's so different from their routine that they're just not able to sustain it. So it's a good idea to make those small, take those baby steps, right, towards healthy eating, to incorporate it into your daily routine. So, use that plate method that we talked about, use that formula for healthy snacking, and just be consistent. I do talk to clients about the 80-20 rule, which is, it's okay if you're eating 80% healthy and 20% not so healthy. That's okay, right? You don't have to worry or stress over eating perfect like 100% of the time, right? That's life. Things will come up and, you know, deviate a little bit, and that's absolutely fine.
So when you say unhealthy, give an example of what will be unhealthy. I know, I know.
So really, I don't like to, label foods specifically, demonize certain foods. I think, everything has a place in even a healthy diet. All foods do. It's really moderation, right?
Moderation.
So, you can have a piece of chocolate cake. It's not the healthiest choice,
Mhm.
but you can have it. It can be a part of a healthy diet, depending on how often you're eating it, how much you're eating it, right?
Mhm.
And that, chocolate cake is different for everybody, right? We all have certain, things that we really enjoy, and it's okay. You don't want to say, oh, I can't touch that. I don't like to use that
Mhm.
like strict, like yes no kind of thing. I do believe there is room for everything in moderation, but really I think the most important thing is consistency. So be consistent in whatever change you're making, and that will help you achieve your goals, whatever they may be.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for that. Another quick question for you. How about these milkshake boost that they have selling? There's like a mixture that they're saying it has everything you need and it's a full meal and all of that. How about those things? Is it
So
good, bad, okay?
yeah, so you're talking about meal replacement.
Like meal replace. There you go, meal replacement. That's what they're saying. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so some would say that, and a lot of them are marketed as a meal replacement, you know, for weight loss and things like that. And they can help you lose weight if you do it, let's say for like a couple of weeks or so. But the thing is, how long are you gonna do that for? That's just not a natural way for us humans to
Mhm.
be eating, right? Or for us to be
Absolutely.
getting our nutrition in.
Mhm.
So, it could work temporarily, but it's not something
Mhm.
sustainable, and they're expensive, and I
Oh,
don't know,
very expensive actually.
they're pricey.
Yeah.
They're pricey.
Mm.
They are also um, you know I don't know how well they taste really, so it's not something I imagine anybody to be kind of living off
Mhm.
for a long period of time. So perhaps for a shorter period of time, they may be okay, or maybe, uh, in certain conditions, maybe, somebody's having a dental surgery and they can't eat kind of thing. So that's what they have as a meal, right? So it could work in certain cases, absolutely. But in general, or even for like a weight loss kind of approach, they're just not a
Mhm.
sustainable way to go. You want to go with food, real food.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And for those of you who are watching, listening, originally when I posted the poster for this show here, I did put a link where you can reach out to our guests if you have questions and or would like to book a free 15 minutes appointment and then kind of take it from there and so on. It's never a bad thing because when you do that, you're investing in yourself. Keep that in mind. What I will do as well too, I will add the link to this video as well too. So just in case for those of you who may have missed it, will have an opportunity to have it again. So not to worry about anything of that kind. So thank you, by the way, for all the information you provided. Very good information. I want to talk about something that's not related to all of this, but something that you can add to and or you share more with us. When you're not doing all of this, I know that you are engaged with the Amal Foundation.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things going on there, a lot of activities. Going on and have done and all of that. Can you share with us a little bit about that Amal Foundation, the kind of work it does and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Amal Foundation works has a lot of different projects that
Mm.
they work with. So, for example, they work with um, immigrants or new immigrants that come to Canada, kind of help them settle down, help them find work, help them connect with each other, just that community outreach for them.
Mhm.
They also do like a lot of international work. So
Mhm.
they raise a lot of funds that help people in the developing world. um, they also do, sorry, I'm going all over the place, but they also do help seniors here
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
the community, again with connecting, finding resources, so things like that. Yeah.
All right. I just thought I'd ask you about that. It's always good to know
Yeah.
who's up, to what and so on. Especially now with the pandemic, people can always benefit from, help and resources and things of that kind. Let me give a special hello to Azjad Hussein. Thank you. Actually, Azjad Hussein is the founder of the Amal Foundation, and I'm aware of the foundation. I'm a good friend of Ajad, by the way, and I've had him on the show as well too. So do keep up the work with the Amal Foundation, especially now with the pandemic, especially with the seniors, the seniors, even prior to the pandemic, isolation, it's still a common thing when it comes to the when it comes to seniors, especially with the immigrant community and so forth. And especially now with the pandemic, it makes it more challenging. So the fact that we have organization like the Amal Foundation makes it a little bit more easier. So that is a beautiful thing. So what I want you to know, Faika, that I appreciate you joining us so much here. I'm more knowledgeable now than I was an hour ago. I can tell you that.
Thank
I
you.
will for sure, you know, continue. I'm very disciplined when it comes to eating, though. I can tell you that. I do cheat there at times, but I was happy to hear that it's okay because I eat my chocolate. I love there are certain chocolate that I really, really love. My daughter and I, my wife doesn't eat chocolate and so on. So anytime we have chocolate around, it's always me and my daughter fighting for the chocolate. So I love but in moderation, and I think you've used all the right words and you've really hammered it really well. So I didn't feel guilty. So that's a good thing. So I can go have a chocolate when I'm done here. So in moderation, I think you've really nailed it there. um I mean, the exercising, the reminder and all of that. I mean, things can slip through the cracks so easy because with the mental health issue that all of us have, from time to time, sometimes things can fall through the cracks. There's no question about that. But when you think about it, um a little, it's not a whole lot, and once you get into it, it becomes a habit. Because I usually do it half hour every day, and I have to tell you, when it comes to that time, it's like something is telling me, like, you need to go get that done, right? It's just, and it feels so good when you're done. I'm talking about mental feeling here. And my wife, for example, she does it like 8 o'clock in the night every night, and when it comes to that time, even mentally for me, I know that she has to go, so I'm getting the baby ready, to have the baby ready with me so that she can go do her thing, and it works so well. So any little thing that you can do, I mean, we learn over the years, I'm sure you will agree with me, that any little thing that we can do for ourselves is
Mhm.
never a bad thing, because we tend to do things constantly for people and then we forget about ourselves. And that's very, very sad, because we are responsible for all of this. And so I'm hoping that people learn something from, today's chit chat here. Very rich conversation for sure.
Thank you.
I'm now giving you the opportunity, though, to share any last thing you like to share, that maybe things I didn't ask you, or maybe things pop in your head there you like to share. Take your time and share it with us. But do know that we appreciate you here so much. We're hoping in the future we can have you back on again. If anybody reach out to us now looking for a dietitian, of course we know where to send them, because I can see how you love and you're passionate about doing what you do. So that is a beautiful thing. So take it away, and any last thing you like to say, go ahead and share.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for having me. This was a really great conversation. I just want to reiterate a few things that we already kind of talked about or touched upon already. So going back to, if somebody wants to make a change towards healthy living, healthy eating, just take small steps, set little goals, and be consistent. Be gentle on yourself. So, don't be so hard on yourself. A lot of people, they'll try something new, they'll try to make changes, and then they fail, or there's a setback, and then they feel guilty, and they get more discouraged, and it shouldn't be like that. um, you want to be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself, that's so important. And be consistent. It's okay if if you were trying to eat a certain way and one day you had a cheat meal. It's not a big deal. Let's get back, right away. Some people are like, oh, you know what, I ate that, this and that, and now I might as well continue eating this way. And that's the wrong approach. It's okay if you slip here and there, absolutely, as long as you're getting back on track, right? As soon as you can. So just a reminder to when it comes to self-care, be kind to yourself, be consistent. Really, I just want to really push that. And you can reach whatever your health goals are.
Absolutely. I have to tell you, though, just before I wrap up here, that you are an excellent presenter. You are a good speaker. Really good information, but you've presented it so well.
Thank you so
with
much.
no effort, like effortlessly you're giving us all of this information here, which is a beautiful thing. And do know that we recognize it, and do know that our people recognize it as well too, and we are forever grateful for that.
Thank you so much.
um,
That's so nice of you.
um, my pleasure, actually. And I mean, you brought up a very interesting point that it is not uncommon for things to, not necessarily go wrong, but it's not uncommon for us to maybe make not the best choices at time, because sometimes we may be at somebody else's house, or we might, run late. I don't know. We are out of the house, and we feel a little bit hungry. We probably grab something out of the way. And I have to be honest with you, I've had those guilty feelings in the past,
Yeah.
where like, because us, we are not big people in terms of eating, like, I don't take it personally. You, we don't eat outside food, is what I is what I meant. And so, like, I wouldn't go to Tim Hortons constantly and buy, coffee and with all double sugar thing and all of that. So if the at times my wife and I, let's say if we're going for a drive and so on, we will buy the smallest cup and we'll share it.
And share
Only
it.
because I will share it. And it's funny, at the very last part, she's saying to me, "Have it, you," and I'm saying, "Are you have it?" Because as we are tasting the sugary part at about,
Feeling
we're starting, we are feeling the guiltiness now. And I can say, "You could have that," and she's telling me the same thing. And so that guilt sometimes is there, but I think you're so right. It is okay once in a while. It's not the end of the world. Nothing's gonna go wrong, but you want to make sure you're going back on track, right? Just like anything else, if things are not going well in our life, if we find a way to kind of go back on track, then things will be okay. So
absolutely.
thank you so much for that. So when I drink whatever I do decide to grab, my friend's vanilla is what I usually like the other times. You know, I wouldn't feel as guilty now. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So my dear fellow listeners, stay right there until I give you the okay to go. So my dear fellow listeners, as we are officially approaching the end of tonight's program, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in to Let's Chit Chat with Narine. Please remember to tune in to us again next time. We're going to have another special guest. On behalf of myself and our special guest here tonight, Faiqa, both of us would like to join together and wish you a great today and even a better tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.